Our next topic is EA framework. In the earlier slide, we talk about what framework is. Framework is basically a structure. It consists of components, and these components are related to one another. If you can remember from the earlier weeks, where we talk about what frameworks are. Framework is one of the core components in EA. What does this framework provide us? It provides us with the scope or the boundary of the EA initiative. For example, EA3 Cube framework, that is an EA framework, and the scope or the boundary uh, consists of the 5 levels, right? The goals and initiative levels up until the network and infrastructure level. So those levels are basically the elements or the components and or the concepts, and these concepts are actually has relationship between one another. So by definition, EA frameworks are generalized organizing structures used for managing the information needed for EA. So there are many EA framework out there, and each of these EA framework, it has its own philosophy or its own direction or angle. Sessions describes the 4 EA frameworks, and each of these framework has its own direction, okay, or philosophy. Firstly, the Zekman framework. This framework it looks like a taxonomy. It means that it is based on classifications, based on groups. The second framework is TOGAF. TOGAF is more or less looks like a process because it consists of steps. FEA is a framework that that looks like a methodology, a complete methodology. And Gartner is also an EA framework that is more practical. A survey that was done in 2008 by Minoli indicates that Zekman framework is the most commonly used EA framework. The second commonly used is organization's own. So this particular framework is developed by an organization, probably a consultant, in which consultant has its own EA framework. The third most commonly used is TOGAF. Even though TOGAF is the third commonly used in this survey, but if you search for enterprise architect on LinkedIn, for example, you would see that most of these enterprise architect are TOGAF certified. So TOGAF has this kind of certification in which people can adopt and be certified. The fourth enterprise architecture framework is DODAF. Okay, so this is the framework that is developed by the United States Department of Defense. Even though there are many EA frameworks, as you can see here, but the underlying principles are the same, in which that the framework sets the scope or the boundary of the EA initiative, and also it consists of concepts or elements, and these elements are related to one another. These are some of the examples of EA frameworks that you can find on Google. If you Google search EA frameworks, you can see these are some of it, right? Here, this is the Zekman framework. Okay, you know this already. This is what we use in class so far. This is the EA3 Cube framework. This is TOGAF. If you can remember from the previous slide, TOGAF is about process. So these are the process. Okay. And this is DODAF. Okay. And this is FEA.